Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 119 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Celozo. Today, Kris and I are very excited to be chatting with Gilad Freimann from VAA Philippines. How are you, Gilad?
Hey, how are you, Dustin?
We're good. We're good. We were just chatting before. You're in Israel right now. So we're just talking about COVID and all the craziness that's going on. But
we're used to craziness.
Yeah.
Craziness is our everyday life, you know that.
Yeah.
So now it's pretty calm.
Yeah.
Considering.
Yeah. Everyone, we all did get a crash course in craziness and pivoting really quickly, I feel like, over the last year. So
yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's been a while.
For me, it was 2020 was the year that I had my second son was born. So he was just born on COVID. So it's really like in addition to everything, it was pretty challenging.
Well, congrats.
A year to remember.
Yeah. Well, it'll be better to remember it about the birth of your child than about COVID. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well,
so happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. When we're excited to talk all about this, virtual assistants is something that we haven't really touched on this podcast. We've done almost 120 episodes and haven't gotten there yet. So we're excited to talk about that. But before we jump into that, let's talk about you. Give us your background on how you got. I think you started selling on Amazon at one point, and you need VAs, and just explain your story and how all of this came about.
Well, I was working actually as a ski instructor. If you want to go back before,
let's go way back. I love it.
I was a ski instructor, and then I worked for a ski company in Israel. I was an employee. But once you get off the snow, then it's starting to be boring. I was looking for a way out, and I couldn't find any. And then suddenly somebody recommended me on FBA. It was 2015, and I started going. And I still kept my other job and started to jingle with it in the beginning, like everybody. And then at a certain point, it grew pretty fast, and I needed a VA. I needed to decide if I'm gonna quit my job or not. And then in the end, I quit my job. I stayed, without anything, going all the way. But we had to. It was me and my wife. We both quit our jobs and went for it. And it was pretty scary at the time. And then once we realized that if we want to grow, we have to hire a VA. That was, I think, a good call at the moment, but it didn't go good. It went very bad, and it jeopardized almost everything. But in the end of the day, when looking backward, this is how it all started.
And then, so you then created VAA Philippines. Talk about that. Talk about what it was like to start that and what services you guys offer.
All right. So I mean, that what started it. I mean, we realized that it's not so easy to find a good virtual assistant. I personally interviewed maybe I think 40 different VAs from the Philippines. All of them said that they have great experience. They have what it takes. They have, they showed me the CVs. Looked like all of them are managers of of Apple, and it turned out that it's not the case, and they could play really good on an interview, but after starting to work with them and started to train them on Amazon, and I spent about 2 months training that VA, that chosen one, on Amazon, and then she just disappeared after a month and stopped replying, and I realized that I had to do it all over again, and the second time it was almost the same, but just different excuses, but basically the same idea. And then we realized that it's not as easy as people think, and you have to know your stuff. You have to know how to find good virtual assistants. You have to know how to keep them with you, and how to train them on Amazon. And it's a whole different world to know. And this is what we do now. We specialize in Amazon. That's really our specialty. We focus there. And we filter virtual assistants from the Philippines in a very long and thorough process. And the very few that are chosen to stay with us and to be accepted to the community, then we start training them on Amazon. And in order for them to work with Amazon sellers, we have PPC VAs, we have. Seller Central VAs, social media VAs, and even graphic designers.
When is a good time for somebody to get a VA? That's the type of questions like,
Chris will cut out. He'll cut out every once
in a while. Yeah, when's a good time to get a VA?
Well, there isn't really like a good answer to that, because we have sellers that come to us and they've been selling for like 5 years already on Amazon. They've been doing everything by themselves, and they just they realize that they cannot do everything, and they're doing the PPC, they're doing the customer service, they're doing the shipment plans. Basically, they're all over the place, and they just realize it doesn't work that way. And then they take a VA from us, or several VAs actually, to help them in their business. But we also have VAs, not VAs, sellers that come to us and say, look, I've just started. I've finished the course. I am married. I have 3 kids. I go back home. It's already 8 p.m. I start to try to find products to launch and, to communicate with 20 different suppliers on Alibaba, and it just doesn't add up. I cannot manage to do it all. And it's already 6 months since I finished the training, and I'm not getting anywhere. So, for them, maybe it will not be as easy as somebody who's already been selling on Amazon for 5 years, but for them, that's probably the only way to actually get things moving, and the VA is the one that will help them actually start.
So you have VAs that are involved even in like product research and communicating with suppliers, not just account management like PPC or listings and all that. This covers the full gamut.
Yeah, well, actually, as a seller on Amazon, I completely understand everything that an Amazon VA could help me with, and this is what we train them for. So we train them to help from the very beginning, from finding the right product, and there are different strategies and tactics of how to find the golden product. So it's not necessarily that one VA could be a magician that will create for you the $1 million product, but it's more about help you with the product research and finding the right keywords and doing and checking all the reviews and checking what needs to be changed and communicating with 20 different suppliers, asking for shipment cost and time of delivery, and doing all the work for you, so you can look at a report and get educated decisions.
I can attest to your story about sort of your journey when you started. You, me, and Chris all started around the same time. We started our businesses around 2014 time as well. And when I finally quit my job and went full time with my business around 2017, I was looking for VAs, and I ran into the same issues you did. I tried a few out, and they were, they were nothing like what they were. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing. At all, even though they sold themselves and had like reviews and everything. So I actually had to pivot and do what you did. I actually tried to find somebody who was green, had nothing, didn't say anything about, they just looked like they were a hard worker. And then I actually trained them. I got lucky. I had one girl in the Philippines working for me for a long time who was great, but it was like an employee that I completely trained from scratch. So I put a lot of effort into that relationship, and it was great. I really liked that. And then things shifted, and now I don't have one anymore right now. But I can attest to what you're talking about. That's the trick, is finding someone who's trained in these areas. And it's cool that you're filling that need for sellers, because that's a big need.
Yeah, I think you had it figured out, because we have sellers coming to us and say, look, I want somebody with experience. I want somebody who's been working as a VA for 5 years already. Like, who knows what was Amazon FBA 5 years ago? It's completely changed. It doesn't help you to be there. But it's not about that, because once when we have all these VAs saying that they have this experience, you don't know who taught them which mistakes they're going to make because of that. What we're looking for is exactly like you mentioned. We're looking for newbies. We're looking for their potential. We want to see how motivated they are, and the greener they are, the more motivated they are to stay with you for years to come. If they have what it takes, capability of learning new things, complicated things fast enough, and apply them without mistakes. If they are eager to learn more and to become a part of your company and will stay with you for years to come, instead of just working until they can get a little bit V on experience and then moving to the next seller. So these are things that we're looking for, and it takes much more time. It takes us almost 2 months until we finish with our recruitment process. And we have a department that is dedicated for recruiting, because we're not just giving them a task and saying, okay, let's see if you have experience.
So what is your process? So VAs obviously apply to work with you, and then they get put through training. Is that how?
Yeah.
With you?
Yeah. What happens is that they apply. We have dozens of VAs applying to us every day. We filter them. Like I said, it takes us about 2 months until we finish the process, but we constantly do it. So we always have VAs available. And then we divide them into 4 different departments: the PPC, social media, Seller Central, and graphic designers. And then we train them on that. So we have different departments at BAA. Each one will specialize on its own thing, because it depends on the things that they're good at. It depends on their character. Somebody who's going to be really good on PPC not necessarily is going to be good at doing customer service. So it's really like completely 2 different areas and fields of expertise.
And then when a company, when like someone like Kris or myself comes to you and we're looking for VAs, how does that arrangement work? Is there an interview process that we have with them? And then does their payment go through your platform, or how does that whole arrangement work between the VA and someone like us?
So our job is really to support both the VA and the seller that's coming to us from the beginning. I mean, all year long. So the payment goes to us in the beginning of each month according to the schedule that you will decide. So you can take a VA for a full-time job, part-time job, 2 hours a day. It's very flexible. And our job is to connect you, first of all, with the department manager. So her job, let's say that you're taking a social media VA. Her job, the department manager, and the social media department manager, her job will be to really go deep in understanding what it is that you need, which type of VA will be the best fit for you. Are you want to put effort into doing Facebook, Instagram, or more influencers work? And then she will connect you with the best choice, the best fit for the job. And that person is going to be your VA. Obviously, if things do not work out, then we'll replace the VA immediately. But we are pretty good in connecting the sellers with the best choice for them. And then we continue to support the VAs throughout the year. All year long, there are always updates, always changes on Amazon TOS, new features, new buttons, on Seller Central. So every month we're creating more tutorials and making sure that all our VAs, they continue to progress. They're always updated. So, they will not, it's not like giving them some videos from 2016 and say, okay, this is our training. It's constantly changing every month.
Seems like a good spot to go to find exactly what you need as far as Amazon goes. Anybody who's looked for a VA and got on Upwork or Fiverr, like trying to find VAs and like going through their profile, it takes forever to do.
Oh yeah.
And then you gotta, when you hire them, they may not know exactly what you're looking for, or that you gotta end up training them. It just takes forever. This seems like a better approach where I can come and say, look, I need somebody to just do Seller Central account management. Give me somebody, and then we go from there. Is that how that works?
Yeah, that how it works. And like I said, our job is not just to connect you with somebody and say, okay, that's it, goodbye, take care, that's your VA. Because maybe you've never worked with VAs before. Maybe this is really the first time that you're connected with a VA. And then our job will be to give you all the tips and advice that we have from working with more than 200 sellers. And we have a community of more than 200 VAs. So we have a lot of tips and advice that we can give you in order to prepare for the arrival of the VA, which mistakes to avoid, which tools are available to make sure that if there are any problems with the VA, then we have our team talking to the VA, making sure that everything is okay. And sometimes if needed, to replace the VA from one day to the other and connect you with a replacer. So that's a part of what we do.
I'll tell you what, you bring up a really good point there. Is when I hired and was training my first VA, it took me a while to figure out, like, number one, how to communicate, because she's on the other side of the world. Time zones are different. Do I micromanage, or do I let her do most of the work? Or it took me a long time to get into the rhythm of managing my VA. It finally got it going. It was really good. But to your point, that's a tricky part for a lot of sellers is, okay, now you've hired the VA, but mean, are you supposed to give them a to-do list every day? What are you supposed to do? How do you manage? That's so it's interesting. I'd love to hear your insights on just some best practices there with managing a VA.
So, I mean, my first VA, when I hired her, I used to sit down in the end of every day and thinking like, wow, what can I give her to do tomorrow? I was stressed from that, you know, and you know, because you don't know, and then it takes you some time to really start to let go, start to understand the power of delegating, and that you should not be stressed, and that's okay if it takes time. And the department managers, that's their job. They're connected with the sellers before even connecting them with the VA that they will be working with, giving them all the tips and advice, answering their questions, and making sure that they feel comfortable working with the VAs. And another thing that that's I would say it's important to say is that it's true that some sellers they don't really know how to work with VAs, but it's also very difficult to handle an employee who's out there in the Philippines working, you know, without really seeing them every day and talking to them. And this is they have this fear of people fear of the fact that VAs, they disappear. You know, they always say, you know, they work for you and then they're gone. This is actually what happened to me. So this is true, but it's not necessarily has to be that way. And one of the things that we put a lot of effort is to I would say to close this gap between the seller and the VA, and become a community to the VAs in which they feel like this is their home. So we have all our staff in the Philippines. They have meetups in the Philippines. We have community events together, like social events. We celebrate their birthdays. So they really feel like, okay, they're connected to something that is, you know, bigger than them and supports them and supports their families. And then they really feel like, okay, this is the place that I want to be. I have somebody taking care of me. And then they give 110% to the company that they're working with, compared to, you know, someone that you found out there, you know, by his own, which is not really feeling connected to anything. You cannot really relate and feel connected to that person because he's not really with you. And then one day, you know, this person will be gone. So that's something that we put a lot of effort into maintaining.
You've got those 4 different parts: PPC, Amazon Expert, social media, and graphic design. All sellers need this at some point. They need all 4 of those. If I start out with an Amazon Expert, are they intertwined together where maybe that manager talks to the PPC expert and says, hey, I'm working with Kris, he needs PPC now. And then will I still work with the same VA, or am I now getting another VA that's only specific in PPC?
So, I mean, we do divide them into the 4 different departments according to their skills and the things that they're good at. So if you're taking, for example, a PPC VA, then that's going to be your PPC VA. He's going to be staying with you for years until you feel so. And if you'll need now a social media VA, that's going to be another type of VA that's dedicated to social media. Her character will probably be completely different. Now, we do have sellers that come to us and say, look, I don't want to manage multiple VAs. I prefer that my PPC VA will also be helping me on customer service. That's possible, but it's usually that's not my cup of tea. I prefer to have 2 different VAs, each one working for me even for 2 hours a day, and each one will have their speciality, instead of having one Superman VA that will do everything, and then one day, you know, she's sick or he's sick, and then you have nobody. I prefer that way.
You touched on something a minute ago when you were talking about there is a fear that a lot of sellers have working with someone who they've never met formally, officially, in person.
Yeah.
On the other side of the world. I had this fear. I mean, you're giving up your Seller Central account information. I mean, my VA had my bank account information and credit card information and everything else. I mean, things could go wrong for sure. But down the road, I mean, I would have trusted my VA with anything. She was fantastic. And what do you tell people to alleviate those fears of, you know, working with someone on the other side of the globe?
Well, I would say to them, first of all, to be, you know, quite frank, then there's a risk in delegating. There's a risk in giving and in hiring an employee. It doesn't matter if that person sits right next to you in the office. And, you know, we all have, you know, heard about these companies that the person that was working next to you quit their job and opened a competition. Exactly what you did. So it's not really helpful if that person is with you in the office. It's really the idea of giving secrets to somebody else. And in that case, I mean, you have to understand that that's your key to growth. And once you understand that this is a risk that you're willing to take, now the question is obviously to hire the right VA, the right person. I would feel like from doing this for already like 4 years and a half now, we've never had any single incident of a VA mistrusting and abusing the trust that you gave him and doing anything as the sort of things that you mentioned. I think it's also a nature of the Philippines in general. I would not say it exists. There's no crime and nothing in the Philippines, but it is. They're different. They're not really the entrepreneurs that we are used to from the Western world. That they always think like, how can I do the same thing and pass you and the curve. So that's a different type of people. And yes, when you're spending so much time and effort into filtering the right people, getting to know them, really, not just judging them according to their CVs, and giving them trust little by little, not giving them your credit card number and your access to everything in your sales center on day one, but building this trust, and then eventually, like you mentioned, I give everything to my VAs. They do everything, including money issues and all that. It took some time and know-how in order to do it, but eventually that's the only way that we grew as a company, and that's the way that the sellers grow.
Talk a little bit about the advantages of hiring VAs over like a part-time worker or traditional employee or something like that. What makes it so advantageous to have VAs?
Well, I mean, first of all, you don't have to hire somebody who's gonna be costing you like 5 times more if you hire somebody and sit with you in the office. If you're working from Kansas, then and you want to have somebody in your office, first of all, then you're restricted to hire somebody that lives next to you in Kansas. You're not going to be finding the best person for the job. You're going to find the best person for the job in Kansas. That's different because in the Philippines, then you can hire somebody who's working from their home, and there could be working from wherever it is, and their rate is going to be far lower than the rate that you would pay in the States. And their English level is superb. They're really customer service oriented, and it's easier for you to work with them and divide their hours. Like we said before, you can have one PPC VA doing 2 hours for you, one social media VA doing another 2 hours for you, an Amazon VA doing 3 hours for you. So and all of that will cost you less than a part-time job of somebody sitting in your office.
Is there any type of summary that is sent out like on a monthly basis? Like, here's what we did this month. Here's where we spent most of our time, or is it a weekly call? Is there any kind of breakdown on what the team is doing during that time?
Well, first of all, it's the VAs that are working directly with the sellers. So it's in the end of the day, it's the seller's decision. I mean, if there are sellers that will want to have a report every day, we do train them to create a report every day to report what they did, which problems they encountered, how they solved them, which recommendations they have. This is a part of what we train them to do every day, to report when they start a shift, when they end the shift. So that's one thing. And after that, yes, there are sellers that want to have a weekly meeting on Zoom and see the person that they're working with on video. It's more also like personal, to ask questions, to see the person. I always do that at least once in a week, talking to my VAs on the video, and they report to me every day. You have different tools for that. You have tools like Asana or Trello that will help you to work with all the different tasks, and you have communication tools such as Slack that will allow you to communicate with a team of VAs and knowing exactly which task each one is doing.
I used Asana with my VA. It was great. It was super easy to assign tasks, etc. Real quick, we've got someone who's watching live on Facebook right now, Dustin Wilson. Hello on Facebook. And great first name, Dustin, who's listening on Facebook. He just messaged that he's scheduled a call with you guys for next week. So there you go. Right. You got something coming your way, which is exciting.
Waiting to talk to you, Dustin.
Yeah, exactly. You might get another Dustin coming at you too, me. Yeah, exactly. This is such a fascinating conversation. I love talking about this because it is it is the next step to growth for sellers. I mean, the three of us are doing this, and it's unmanageable when you get it with one person. The amount of things that you have to do, it's overwhelming. And yeah, VAs, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, I had great experience with it and love what you're doing. This was super needed in the community, is to have this service where you're training VAs for sellers out there. If someone's listening right now, like Dustin on Facebook, and they want to get in touch with you, how do they do it? How can they get started working with you?
Well, you can go on our website. It's www.vaphilippines.com, and or just send an email to support@vaphilippines.com, and then we'll schedule a meeting either with me or one of the managers, and we'll go from there. I want to refer to something that you mentioned before. I think it's so obvious to me and to you, because you've been working already with VAs, and you know the difference of what it means to delegate and to give power to somebody else, and to free you to work on the things that only you as the owner can do. But we have so many people, especially on selling on Amazon, on e-commerce, that do not understand that, because in compared to working, having your own shop somewhere, that you realize that it's not possible for you to do everything yourself. You have to hire a seller to sell, and you have to have an accountant, and you have to have a designer to help you. So here, people, because they sit in front of the computer, then they think, okay, you know what? I was trained to do this and this and this. I took a course. They taught me how to do shipment plans, and they told me how to do customer service, and the Seller Central allows me to do all that. And I have Facebook, so I can also post on Facebook, and I have and I know PPC. I did a course on PPC, so I can do PPC. And then they find themselves doing everything. And when you're doing everything, first of all, you get tired from it. And in the end of the day, you're not freeing yourself the time to do what matters, to do the things that only you as the owner of the business can do. And you're trapped. You're looking at yourself a year after, and you're pretty much doing the same things. And it doesn't change until you understand that if you have somebody that is qualified enough and is good enough and was trained specifically on the things that could take from you the things that you do on a regular basis that do not need your own attendance, then you should go for it. That's what changed my life. That's what changed the way that I sell on Amazon. And that's also the key of that VAA grew so much, because I already knew how to delegate. And that's something that sellers should understand.
I'm a big fan, VAs, because you're going to learn more the things that you don't know. Like, I love when I get a VA and they come to me with suggestions on things that they want to do that I never thought of, and they're just smarter than me about everything. And so tell me what else you want to do. What should we do here? Like, give me some more suggestions, because like the more they get involved, the more they feel one.
Yep. Chris froze again.
Hey, do you have a VA that knows how to fix Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. By the way, Wi-Fi, and all that in the Philippines, I'm already used to, things. There is a typhoon coming in, and there's no internet connection. I already bought all my stuff, generator, for these cases. You have to be prepared.
Yeah. To touch on Chris's point, I want to touch on Chris's point and I'll double down on it. That was the experience I had as well with VAs. Is us as sellers, I feel like I wake up in the morning, I've got a to-do list, and I'm like, oh gosh, update A+ content. Oh, check. And you're like, oh my, do this. These kinds of things my VA would do, and I didn't even think about it. Like, my VA designed A+ content for listings before I even asked. And I was like, it's like, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I need, is a go-getter who's going to tackle all these things that are like weights dragging behind me. That's how I felt. Like, I just want to do something that I like to do. I don't want to do this right now. And so I love it. Dustin on Facebook has another question for us real quick. I'll just ask it. And then I've got another question. I'm assuming the answer to this is yes, but his question is, do the VAs also do storefront designs? I'm assuming they do.
We do train them on that as well. It's the part of the Amazon VAs. Sometimes they work together with the graphic designers. So the graphic designers will do all the photos, and the VA will do all the research and write the content.
And just lastly, what can a seller expect to pay for a VA? I mean, what's the pay range, and do you have a hierarchy of expertise, and there's different pay scales? How does that look?
Well, the way it works is that with us, there is a one-time fee that you're paying only once when you're starting the process. And then after that, there is the hourly rate of the VAs. It depends on the different departments. For the Amazon VAs, for example, the rate is $5.50 an hour. Social media, $6.50 an hour. PPC, which is the highest level of training that we give, is $7.50 an hour. So the rates are fairly low and definitely doable in order for you to have experts working with you. And then it's up to you to decide how many hours a day you'd like the VA to be working.
I think when people hear those rates, especially if you're in the United States or Europe or Israel, if you hear those rates, it's eye-opening in terms of, so you can have somebody working for you all day for $30, $40. I mean, it's amazing. And it's like, what's your time worth to you when you could allocate that, and how much can you just multiply yourself? I think it's what we all want to try to do as business owners, is can we duplicate ourselves so that we can get a lot of stuff done? And VA's the way to go.
Yeah. I do have one last question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kris. Go.
Big thing right now is selling businesses. If I use your service and I sell my business to an acquisition company, are you going with them, or do they keep you? How's that work out?
Well, it's up to the seller. First of all, we did have this case already before. So usually the new company that's purchasing the business, they would prefer to keep the VAs. If they decided they don't want the VA, then they stop the agreement, and you can stop working with your VA from one day to the other. So, but usually they prefer to keep the VAs, and then they just the VAs, they stay and they keep working for them. It's just a different contact person now from now on.
Interesting. Cool. Yep, that's cool. Hey, Gilad, this has been a blast. We'll have to have you back on. We'd love to get you back on in a month or so, 2 months down the road, just to, this whole space changes all the time, and there's new things coming up, and we could always talk about different topics. But so we'd love to have you back on again. Thanks for joining us. This has been great.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening out there, if you like content like this, would like to see more or hear more, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone. It's on every platform that podcasts are available. Leave us a review if you like what you hear. You can be like Dustin on Facebook. You can see us go live, and you can ask questions to our guests, just like he did. Get your question answered right on the spot. So to do that, make sure you're liking and following the Solozo page on Facebook, the Solozo channel on YouTube. We're live there as well. And you can post comments and questions when we're live. So make sure you're doing all that, following that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back at this again tomorrow. And Gilad, thanks so much. Have a great day, man.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day. Yeah, bye-bye. Take care.